Chosen one, why do you feel so heavy tonight? Why does your chest ache with a loneliness that has no name? Why, after all these years of praying, believing, trusting, does it still feel like God is a million miles away? Stop. What I'm about to tell you will shatter everything you thought you knew about silence. 2 hours ago, heaven stopped. Not slowed down, stopped. Every angel mid-flight froze in the corridors of eternity. The seraphim ceased their endless, holy, holy, holy. The cloud of witnesses turned their gaze from the throne, and God himself, the Ancient of Days, the Creator of galaxies, he leaned forward. He whispered a single name into the fabric of time. Yours. Heaven stopped its breath. And your name was the reason. I know you don't feel it yet. I know you've spent 70, 80, maybe 90 years wondering if God still sees you, wondering if your prayers bounce off the ceiling, wondering if you're just forgotten. Another face in the crowd, another senior citizen the world shuffled aside. But listen to me carefully. This moment, right now, is proof that he never looked away. Think of a lighthouse on a violent sea. For hours, its beam sweeps across empty water, back and forth, empty, empty, empty. But then, suddenly it stops. The beam locks onto one fragile ship, lost in the storm. Everything else fades. There's only that light. And that one vessel it refuses to abandon. That's what just happened in heaven. God turned his full attention toward you. Not because you're perfect. Not because you've earned it. But because something in your spirit, some cry you didn't even know you released, reached the throne room and moved the heart of the Almighty. Before we go deeper, I want to pause and honor every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just giving, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and sow that seed of faith. But here's the question burning in heaven right now. Why did God stop everything for you? What is it about your struggle, your season, your silent tears that made the Almighty pause eternity itself? If you feel that flutter in your chest, if something ancient is stirring in your spirit, don't scroll past this moment. Comment right now, Lord, I'm listening. That's not just words. That's you opening the door to what God is about to reveal. Because chosen one, what happens next will prove that your isolation was never abandonment. It was preparation. Why does your body feel heavier every morning? Why does that ache in your chest, the one doctors can't explain, refuse to leave? Why, after all these decades of service, sacrifice, and silent suffering, do you still feel like you're carrying a mountain on your shoulders? Let me tell you something that's going to shatter the lie you've been living under. That weight pressing down on you, the exhaustion in your bones, the loneliness that follows you from room to room, the regret that whispers in the dark it was never yours to carry. You've been bearing a burden that belonged to someone else, a battle that wasn't even your assignment. Listen to me carefully, beloved. You thought life weighed you down. You thought your age betrayed you. You thought God forgot to strengthen you. But heaven is saying something completely different tonight. You weren't crushed by your circumstances. You were chosen to carry something so sacred, so powerful, that only someone with your history, your scars, your proven faithfulness could hold it without breaking. Think about the years behind you, the marriage that crumbled when you needed it most, the children who grew distant, who stopped calling, who built lives that don't include you anymore, the career that ended not with applause, but with a gold watch and a handshake from people who couldn't pronounce your name. The friends who died, one by one, until your phone stopped ringing. The body that betrays you, knees that won't bend, hands that shake, a heart that races for no reason. You've stood at kitchen sinks at 3 in the morning, haven't you? Staring into darkness, wondering if anyone would notice if you weren't here tomorrow. You've sat in doctors' offices holding test results that steal your breath. You've attended more funerals than weddings. You've watched the world speed past you like you're standing still, invisible, irrelevant. And somewhere in all that silence, you started believing the most dangerous lie the enemy ever whispered, that God walked away. But what if I told you that the pressure you've been feeling wasn't life crushing you, it was God's hands reshaping you? Isaiah 64:8 declares, "We are the clay, you are the potter, we are all the work of your hand." Clay doesn't understand the pressure. It only feels the squeeze, the push, the uncomfortable transformation. But the potter knows exactly what he's creating. Every ache, every loss, every moment you felt forgotten, that was the master's hand molding you into a vessel strong enough to carry what's coming next. You thought the silence meant absence. But silence is the womb where miracles grow. Think about Mary, young, confused, carrying the impossible. For 9 months, while her body changed and her community whispered, heaven was silent. No angel visits, no burning bush. Just her, the waiting, and the growing weight of something she couldn't yet see. But that silence, that was God working in the hidden place, preparing the Savior of the world. Your silence has been your pregnancy. You've been carrying something divine, and you didn't even know it. Here's what breaks my heart. You thought God was absent during your hardest seasons. You thought he turned his face away when you needed him most. But Psalm 34:18 promises, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Not distant, close, not ignoring, saving. The moments you felt most alone were the moments he leaned in closest, holding you together when you should have shattered. That depression that visits you in waves, that's not weakness. That's the weight of intercession for a generation that forgot how to pray. That anxiety that grips your chest, that's not cowardice. That's spiritual warfare on behalf of grandchildren who don't know they're under attack. That loneliness that sits with you at dinner, that's not rejection. That's preparation for intimacy with God that shallow souls will never know. You've been carrying prayers that aren't yours, battles that belong to others, generational curses that were supposed to end with you. And you did it. Beloved, you're still standing, still breathing, still believing. That's not luck. That's divine strength flowing through mortal veins. But heaven stopped 2 hours ago to tell you something urgent. The carrying season is ending. The burden is being lifted. What you've been holding in secret is about to be revealed in public. The clay is coming out of the potter's hand, and the masterpiece is about to be unveiled. God didn't let you carry this weight to destroy you. He let you carry it to prove you, to refine you, to prepare you for an assignment so significant that only someone who's been crushed and didn't break could handle it. The weight wasn't punishment, it was preparation. And the preparation is almost complete. If these words are touching something deep, if you feel that ancient stirring in your chest, don't let this moment pass. Say it right now in the comments. I receive this. Let heaven see your faith. Let the angels witness that you're ready for what comes next. Because, chosen one, the burden is lifting, but the authority is just beginning to descend. And what God is about to place in your hands will make every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of crushing pressure worth it. But you need to understand why God chose you specifically to carry this weight, and what that reveals about the assignment waiting on the other side. You thought you were just surviving. You thought those dark nights when your heart wouldn't stop racing, when fear wrapped around your throat like a noose, when you begged God for just one more sunrise, you thought those were random moments of human weakness. But what if I told you something that will shake you to your core? What if every single one of those nights was a battlefield? What if, while you were lying there thinking you were alone, there was a war raging in the unseen realm, a war over your very existence? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. You made it through nights the enemy thought would end you. That heart attack at 67 that the doctors said should have killed you instantly. That wasn't luck. That wasn't modern medicine. That was an angel's hand deflecting death's arrow at the last possible second. That depression in your 70s that whispered, "End it all," every single morning. That wasn't just chemical imbalance. That was a demonic assignment, and you defeated it by getting out of bed one more time. You survived what was designed to destroy you, and you did it without even knowing you were in combat. The Bible tells us in Ephesians 6:12, "We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world." But here's what most preachers won't tell you, that wrestling doesn't stop when you turn 65. It intensifies. Because the enemy knows something about your final years that you're just beginning to understand. You're more dangerous now than you've ever been. Think about it. Why has life gotten harder as you've gotten older? Why did your spouse die right when you thought you'd finally have peace together? Why did your children drift away when you needed them most? Why did your health fail? Your finances crumble? Your hope seem to evaporate like morning mist? Because hell saw what heaven hid in you. Every attack, every single assault on your peace, your health, your relationships wasn't random chaos. It was strategic warfare. The enemy doesn't waste ammunition on empty vessels. He doesn't deploy his strongest demons against powerless people. But you've been in his crosshairs since the day you were born. Daniel 10:13 reveals something terrifying. "The prince of the Persian kingdom resisted me 21 days. Then Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me." Do you understand what this means? Daniel's prayer was so powerful, so threatening to darkness, that a demonic prince fought for 3 weeks to stop the answer from reaching him. And it took an archangel, Michael himself, to break through. Your prayers have caused that same kind of warfare. Those prayers you thought went unanswered, they shook the gates of hell so violently that Satan had to personally assign forces to intercept them. But here's what the enemy didn't count on. Heaven assigned warriors to you long before you knew danger existed. Before you were born, before your mother's womb even conceived you, God looked at the life you would live and said, "This one will need protection." Psalm 91:11 promises, "He shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways." Not some of your ways, all your ways. That car accident you walked away from without a scratch while the vehicle was totaled, angel. That cancer diagnosis that disappeared without explanation, angel. That night you stood on the bridge contemplating the jump, and suddenly a stranger appeared and said exactly what you needed to hear. Not a stranger, angel. You've been surrounded by an invisible army your entire life, and you never even knew their names. But the enemy knew. He's watched them deflect his attacks for 70, 80, 90 years. He's seen his best strategies fail against you time and time again. And every failure made him more furious. So he intensified the assault. He went after your mind when he couldn't kill your body. He attacked your faith when he couldn't destroy your health. He isolated you when he couldn't eliminate you. And still, you're here. Do you understand what that means? Do you grasp the magnitude of what I'm telling you? You didn't just survive random hardship. You survived targeted assassination attempts from the kingdom of darkness. You won battles you didn't even know you were fighting. And this is why God stopped everything 2 hours ago. Because after watching you survive hell's best efforts, after witnessing you praise him through pain that should have made you curse his name, after seeing you choose faith, when logic screamed for you to quit, heaven itself stood up and applauded, and God said, "Enough." It's time to tell them the truth. It's time to reveal what really happened. The enemy tried to script your ending. He wrote your death certificate before you hit 70. He planned your funeral, prepared your epitaph, designed your defeat down to the smallest detail. But God, oh, listen to this. God rewrote the chapter before ink touched paper. Isaiah 54:17 declares, "No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper. Not some weapons, not most weapons. No weapon, Every scheme, every plot, every attack designed to take you out has failed, because failure is the only option when hell goes to war with heaven's agenda. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are a victor in invisible warfare. Right now, if this is hitting your spirit like lightning, if you're finally understanding why your life has been so hard, if you're recognizing that your survival wasn't accident, but divine intervention, comment 777 right now. That's not just a number. That's a prophetic declaration that you survived what was meant to destroy you. That's you telling hell, I'm still here, and I'm done being silent about it. Because, chosen one, God didn't preserve you through all those battles just so you could fade quietly into the sunset. He protected you because what He's about to release through you requires someone who knows how to stand when everything says fall. But there's something else you need to know. Something about why, after all these victories, after all these years, God chose this exact moment to reveal the truth. You know what nobody talks about in church? The years when heaven went radio silent on you. I'm not talking about a few days of unanswered prayer. I'm talking about the decades, the seasons so long you forgot what God's voice even sounded like. You prayed every morning at that kitchen table. You knelt beside your bed every night until your knees ached. You fasted, you tithed, you served, you believed with everything in you, and the sky stayed brass. Tell me something honest right now. How many nights have you whispered into the darkness, God, did I do something wrong? Did you forget me? Am I being punished? How many Sunday mornings have you sat in that same pew, watching everyone else raise their hands in worship while you sat there feeling absolutely nothing? How many times have you watched younger believers get their breakthroughs, their miracles, their answered prayers, while you're still waiting for the one thing you've been asking for since 1987? You thought the silence meant you weren't chosen. You thought the waiting meant you weren't worthy. You thought God's quietness was His absence. But what if I told you that you've had it backwards this entire time? Listen to me carefully, dear one. The silence wasn't punishment. It was promotion. God wasn't measuring your worth, He was measuring your endurance. Because there's a massive difference between believers who worship when the music is loud and warriors who worship when the room is empty. Job understood this. For 42 chapters, that man sat in ashes, covered in boils, tormented by friends who said his suffering was proof of his sin. His wife told him to curse God and die. Everything he owned was destroyed. Everyone he loved was taken, and for the longest stretch of agony recorded in Scripture, God said absolutely nothing. But Job 42:12 reveals the secret. The Lord blessed the latter part of Job's life more than the former part. Why? Because Job passed the test of silence. He said in Job 13:15, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him." That's not the cry of a man who's been abandoned. That's the declaration of a man who's been chosen for something greater than comfort. Your silent season wasn't random, it was strategic. God was building something in you that could only be forged in the furnace of unanswered questions. Think about this. When a farmer plants seeds, what happens next? Nothing. For weeks that soil looks dead, empty, barren, no evidence that anything is happening. A child would look at that field and say, "Nothing's growing." But the farmer knows better. Underneath that silent soil, roots are spreading, foundations are forming, life is preparing to explode upward. That's what's been happening to you. While you thought God was absent, He was actually underground in your life, developing root systems strong enough to sustain the harvest He's been planning. The silence was winter soil preparing for spring roots. David spent years running through caves, hiding from Saul, anointed as king but living like a fugitive. Psalm 13:1 captures his desperation. "How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me?" But those cave years weren't wasted time. They were David's doctoral program, independence. Every silent night taught him that God's presence isn't measured by circumstances, it's measured by covenant. And you, chosen one, you've been in your cave years, But look at you, you're still here, still believing, still trusting, still showing up. That's not weakness. That's the kind of faith that makes heaven take notice. Here's what breaks my heart. You've been interpreting God's silence as rejection when it was actually preparation. You've been seeing the delay as denial when it was actually divine timing. You've been calling it abandonment when God calls it assignment. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness thinking he was finished, but God was just getting him ready for 80. Abraham waited 25 years for Isaac. Joseph sat in prison for years before the palace. Hannah wept at the temple year after year before Samuel was born. The pattern is always the same. The greater the silence, the greater the assignment. The longer the wait, the larger the purpose. The deeper the test, the higher the promotion. And the silence was preparing you for this message, this moment, this divine interruption when God leans into your life and says, now you're ready for what I've been holding. You thought the silence meant God stopped caring. But what if the silence meant God cared too much to give you what you wanted before you were ready for what you needed? What if He loved you enough to let you feel forgotten so you could discover He's unforgettable? What if He allowed the loneliness so you could learn that His presence doesn't depend on your feelings? Your silent seasons weren't evidence of His absence. They were evidence of His trust. He knew you'd still be standing when others would have walked away. He knew your faith would outlast your feelings. He knew you carried something rare, the ability to believe in the dark. If you've ever walked through silent seasons, if you've ever wondered if God was even listening, if you've spent years feeling spiritually alone, type this right now. Still, I trust you. Not because you understand, but because you've learned that trust isn't based on explanation. It's based on character, and His character has never changed. Because what God is about to reveal next will prove that every silent year was a seed planted for this exact harvest. You want to know what happened in those 2 hours? Let me tell you something that's going to rock you to your core. Heaven opened your file. Not metaphorically, not symbolically. The Ancient of Days pulled out the record of your life and spread it across eternity like a scroll that stretched from Genesis to Revelation. Every tear you cried at 3 a.m. when no one was watching. Every prayer you whispered when your voice was too weak to speak. Every moment you wanted to quit, but somehow found the strength to take one more step. God didn't just glance at it. He studied it. He lingered over the chapters no one else knows about. The miscarriage you never talk about. The bankruptcy that crushed your spirit. The betrayal from people you loved like family. The diagnosis that made you question everything. And then something happened that shook the foundations of heaven itself. God pointed to your perseverance. He turned to the angels and said, "Look at this one. Look at what they've endured. Look at how many times hell tried to take them out, and they're still standing." They didn't just survive. They kept believing when belief made no sense. The angels leaned in. The cloud of witnesses went silent. Because what God said next hasn't been spoken over many in this generation. He said, "It is time." Not maybe, not eventually, not someday if they prove themselves worthy. Time, present tense, immediate, now. But here's what you need to understand, chosen one. Those years you thought were wasted, those decades you spent in the wilderness wondering if God had forgotten your address, that wasn't delay. That was divine protection. Let me ask you something that might sting. What would have happened if you got that breakthrough at 40? Would you have had the wisdom to steward it? Would you have had the character to sustain it? Would you have had the humility to use it for His glory instead of your own ego? The enemy convinced you that waiting meant losing. But God was using that time to install something in you that can't be taught in a classroom or learned from a book. He was carving spiritual authority into your bones. Every closed door was chiseling away everything that wasn't gold. Every setback was stripping away every false identity that would have collapsed under the weight of what's coming. Think about Joseph. 17 when he got the dream. 30 when he stepped into the palace. 13 years of pits, slavery, false accusations, and prison cells. But when Pharaoh's crisis came, Joseph didn't just have an interpretation, he had a strategy to save nations. Why? Because those 13 years in the dark carved wisdom into him that a comfortable life never could. Your suffering wasn't senseless, it was strategic. The depression that nearly killed you taught you how to counsel souls standing on the edge. The financial ruin that left you eating ramen for months taught you that God is your provider when every earthly system fails. The loneliness that made you feel invisible taught you how to see people everyone else overlooks. God didn't waste a single tear, he was building an arsenal. But here's where it gets supernatural. Here's where the atmosphere in heaven shifted from reflection to declaration. God looked at the timeline of your life, past, present, and future, and he said something that made every demon within 1,000 miles tremble. Their next season is acceleration. Not slow progress, not gradual improvement, acceleration. Like a bow that's been pulled back for 70 years, 80 years, 90 years. The further back it's been pulled, the more power is stored in that tension. And when God releases it, when he finally lets go, that arrow doesn't just move forward. It explodes into its target with unstoppable force. You've been in the pullback, beloved. Every year of waiting was increasing the velocity of your release. Every season of hiddenness was adding power to your launch. You thought you were falling behind, but God was building momentum you can't even comprehend yet. Isaiah 40:31 says, "They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles." But that word wait in Hebrew doesn't mean passive sitting. It means to twist together like a rope. God has been twisting your pain and your prayers, your faith and your failures, your tears and your trust into an unbreakable cord of destiny. And right now, in this very moment, he's about to let it snap forward. The reason God stopped everything is because your breakthrough is already moving toward you, not coming someday. Moving right now. While you're listening to these words, while you're sitting in that chair wondering if this is real, divine orchestration is happening. Doors are unlocking. Resources are being redirected. People are being positioned. Opportunities are being aligned. The breakthrough isn't something you need to chase down, it's something that's chasing you. But here's the urgency burning in my spirit. When heaven releases acceleration, it doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It doesn't pause until you have all your questions answered. It moves with or without your permission. And if you're not postured to receive it, if you're still living in yesterday's mindset, still speaking poverty over your life, still believing the lie that your best days are behind you, you could miss the very thing God stopped heaven to announce. Job 22:28 declares, "Thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. Your mouth has power. Your words carry weight." What you speak over the next 72 hours will either position you for what's coming or push it away. If you're ready for what God already released, if you're ready to stop living like a beggar when heaven just declared your royalty, say it out loud right now. Say it with authority. Say it like you mean it. I won't miss it. Because, chosen one, the meeting in heaven is over. The decision has been made. The acceleration has been activated. The only question left is whether you'll step into what God just released over your life. Listen to me, chosen one. You've made it this far. You've weathered storms that would have drowned others. You've survived betrayals that should have destroyed you. You've carried burdens so heavy your knees should have buckled years ago. But you're still here, still standing, still believing. And that terrifies the enemy. Because he knows something you're just beginning to understand. You are standing at the threshold. 1 foot in the wilderness, 1 foot in the promise. And right now, right this very second, hell is mobilizing its final assault to keep you from crossing over. Before breakthrough comes exposure. Let me tell you what's happening in the spiritual realm while you're listening to my voice. The enemy has dispatched his most deceptive weapons. Not the obvious ones, Not the loud temptations or the blatant sins. No, dear one. At this stage of your journey, Satan doesn't come as a roaring lion. He comes as an angel of light. 2 Corinthians 11:14 warns us plainly. Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. He knows you won't fall for darkness anymore. You've lived too long. You've seen too much. So he sends counterfeits wrapped in blessing, distractions disguised as divine appointments, emotional traps baited with what feels like love. Think about this. Why would someone from your past suddenly reappear right now? It's not coincidence. It's strategy. The enemy knows your breakthrough date. He's read the calendar in heaven. He's seen the decree with your name on it. And he's deploying everything he has left to make you stumble 3 feet from the finish line. But here's what he didn't count on. You've been trained for this. Every disappointment taught you discernment. Every betrayal sharpened your spiritual senses. Every season of waiting developed your ability to distinguish between God's voice and the imposter. This is why God needs you alert right now. You're too close to be fooled, too valuable to be distracted, too anointed to be derailed by counterfeits. Think of a lighthouse on a rocky shore. All night long it's been shining into the darkness, guiding a ship through treacherous waters. But listen carefully, the lighthouse shines its brightest in those final yards before the ship reaches safety. Why? Because that's when the danger is greatest. That's when the rocks are closest. That's when one wrong turn means destruction. You are that ship, and you're in those final yards. The pressure you're feeling isn't evidence that you're off course. It's confirmation that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. The spiritual attacks you've been experiencing lately aren't random. They're targeted, precise, desperate. Let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. Who has suddenly appeared in your life offering help? Who's been whispering doubts disguised as concern? What opportunity has presented itself that feels right, but doesn't sit well in your spirit? The Bible tells us in 1 Peter 5-8, "Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour." But notice what it says first. Be alert, of sober mind, not paranoid, not fearful, alert. There's a difference. God isn't telling you to be afraid. He's telling you to be aware, to test every spirit, to measure every voice against His word, to wait for His peace before you move. Because right now, beloved, the enemy is offering you shortcuts, quick fixes, easy answers, relationships that promise to fill the void, opportunities that look like provision but require compromise, voices that sound wise but lead you away from the path God marked for your feet. I need you to understand something with absolute clarity. You didn't survive everything you've survived just to settle for almost. You didn't endure decades of refinement just to grab fool's gold when real treasure is 3 steps away. Pass this final test, hold your position, guard your peace, protect your focus, and the gates open, not just crack open, not barely budge. They swing wide. They explode with the force of heaven's approval over a life that refused to quit when quitting would have been easier. Do you know why the enemy is working so hard right now? Because he's seen what's on the other side of your obedience. He's witnessed what God has prepared for those who pass the final test, and it terrifies him. Your breakthrough isn't just for you. It's for everyone watching your life. Your grandchildren need to see what happens when someone trusts God all the way to the end. Your community needs to witness what faithfulness looks like in human form. This generation needs proof that God still rewards those who diligently seek Him. You are their proof. But only if you pass this test, only if you stay alert, only if you refuse to be distracted by counterfeits when the real thing is within reach. Hebrews 12:1 urges us, "Let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us." Everything that hinders, not just sin. Everything. Even good things that aren't God things. Even opportunities that aren't ordained. Even relationships that aren't divinely appointed. This is your moment of holy discernment. your season of sacred separation, your final test before the shift that changes everything. If you're ready to pass this test, if you refuse to let the enemy intercept what's yours, if you're determined to cross this finish line no matter what hell throws at you, then declare it right now. Type, "I'm ready," in the comments. Let heaven witness your commitment. Let the enemy know his schemes have failed. Because, chosen one, what I'm about to reveal next will show you exactly what's waiting on the other side of this test. And it's worth every second of resistance you're facing right now. Chosen one, look at me. What if I told you that the next 30 days of your life are going to look nothing like the last 30 years? What if God didn't stop everything just to comfort you, but to completely restructure your reality? You've been living in winter for so long, you forgot what spring feels like. You've been walking through darkness for so many decades that you've accepted the shadows as normal. You wake up every morning carrying the same weight, facing the same walls, whispering the same prayers that seem to echo in empty rooms. But that ends now. Listen carefully. In the next 30 days, you're going to experience something the Bible calls suddenly. Acts 2:2 says, "And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting." Not gradually, not eventually, suddenly. For 120 people locked in that upper room, nothing happened for 10 days. 10 days of waiting, wondering, questioning if they'd heard God correctly. And then, without warning, heaven crashed through the ceiling, and everything changed in a single moment. That's your next 30 days. You're going to wake up one morning, and the depression that's haunted you for 40 years will be gone. Just gone. You'll open your eyes, and instead of that familiar dread settling over your chest, you'll feel something you haven't felt since you were young: hope. Pure, unexplainable, irrational hope. Isaiah 40:31 promises, "But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles." Not might renew, shall renew. That's not suggestion, that's prophecy. And it's landing on your life right now. In the next 30 days, divine timing is going to collide with your circumstances in ways that will leave you speechless. That phone call you've been praying for, it's coming. That relationship that's been fractured for years, God is already softening hearts you can't even see. That financial miracle you stopped believing could happen, it's being released from heaven's treasury as I speak these words. But here's what's going to shock you most. The peace that's coming isn't circumstantial, it's supernatural. You know how you've been trying to fix everything, control everything, manage everything. God is about to show you what Philippians 4:7 means when it says, "His peace surpasses all understanding." It doesn't make sense. Your bank account might still be tight, but you'll have peace. Your body might still ache, but you'll have peace. The world might still be chaos, but you'll have peace that defies every logical explanation. Think about this. You've spent decades with a cup that's been empty. Every time you poured yourself out for your children, your spouse, your church, your community, you gave from an empty vessel. You've been running on fumes so long you forgot what it feels like to be full. But Psalm 23:5 declares, "My cup runneth over." Not trickles, not drips, runs over. In the next 30 days, God is going to fill you so full of His presence, His joy, His strength, that it will overflow onto everyone around you. Your grandchildren are going to notice something different about you. Your neighbors are going to ask what changed. Strangers in the grocery store are going to feel something radiating from you that they can't name. You've been a garden in winter, haven't you? Everything that used to bloom in you has been dormant so long you thought it died. Your dreams, your passion, your purpose, all buried under seasons of disappointment and years of just surviving. But Song of Solomon 2:11-1-2 says, "For lo, the winter is past, the rain is over and gone, the flowers appear on the earth, the time of the singing of birds is come." Your winter is past. Not passing, past. Already over in the spirit realm. And in the next 30 days, you're going to see buds breaking through soil you thought was dead forever. That gift you buried because people told you it wasn't practical, it's about to be resurrected. That calling you abandoned because you thought you were too old, God is about to breathe on it again. That fire that used to burn in your chest when you were young and believed anything was possible, it's about to ignite with an intensity that will terrify the enemy and astound everyone who counted you out. Here's what I need you to understand. Your story isn't ending, it's beginning again. Not a sequel, not a continuation, a complete restart with wisdom you didn't have the first time, strength you earned through the fire, and authority that only comes from surviving what should have destroyed you. The next 30 days are your dawn breaking after the longest night of your life. And this dawn isn't just light, it's the kind of brilliant, blazing sunrise that makes you weep because you never thought you'd see morning again. But you have to do one thing. You have to say yes to what's coming. You have to open your hands and receive instead of clenching your fists in fear. You have to let God restructure your next month without trying to control every detail. If you receive this 30-day blessing, if something in your spirit is leaping right now because you know this word is for you, whisper in the comments, "Let it begin." Because chosen one, what's about to unfold will prove that God's delays are never denials. They're just His way of making sure you're ready for the magnitude of what He's been preparing. And you're ready now. You've felt it before, haven't you? That strange sensation when you're standing in your kitchen at dawn, coffee growing cold in your hand, and suddenly for just a heartbeat, you're somewhere else. Not physically, but your soul recognizes a frequency this world doesn't carry. You felt it in the hospital room when they said there was no hope, but peace flooded your chest anyway. You felt it at the graveside when grief should have destroyed you, but something held you upright that wasn't your own strength. Those weren't accidents, chosen one. Those were glimpses, brief tears in the veil between heaven and earth. But what happened 2 hours ago wasn't a glimpse. It was a doorway. Listen to me carefully. There are moments, rare, sacred moments, when God doesn't just peek through the curtain of eternity. He rips it wide open. He creates what the ancients called a thin place, a corridor between the seen and the unseen. A vibrational shift so powerful that angels pause mid-flight and demons flee in terror. And for 2 hours, that doorway opened directly over your life. The Apostle Paul knew about these moments. In 2 Corinthians 12:2, he wrote about being caught up to the third heaven. He couldn't explain it with human language. He said, "Whether in the body or out of the body, I do not know, God knows." That's what happens when heaven invades earth. Time bends, reality shifts. The supernatural becomes more real than the natural. But here's what breaks my heart. You've been living between two worlds your entire life and didn't even know it. Think about it. Why have you always felt like a stranger here? Why does success feel hollow? Why do the things that excite everyone else leave you empty? Why, even in your 80s, do you still feel like you're waiting for something, searching for something, aching for something this world cannot provide? Because you're not fully of this world, beloved. You never were. You've spent decades thinking something was wrong with you, that you were too sensitive, too deep, too different. Your own family called you strange. Your friends couldn't understand why you couldn't just be happy with what you had. Even the church, the very place that should have recognized your spirit, they told you to stop being so intense, so hungry, so desperate for more of God. But God saw what they missed. He saw a soul that never fully settled into earth because it remembered heaven. He saw a spirit that kept reaching upward because it knew somewhere deep in the DNA of your eternal being that this world is not your home. John 17:16 records Jesus praying over his disciples. They are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. Not of this world, that's you. That's why nothing here has ever fully satisfied you. That's why, at 75, 85, 95 years old, you still feel that restless hunger for something more. And 2 hours ago, God opened the corridor to show you why. During those 2 hours, while you were going about your day, maybe sitting in your chair, maybe staring out the window, maybe lying awake in the 3 a.m. darkness, a supernatural transaction occurred. Heaven pulled back the veil. Not so you could see it, so it could see you, so God could reach through time and space and touch the deepest chamber of your heart. And he rewrote something. I know that sounds impossible. I know your logical mind is fighting this. But stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you has been confirmed in my spirit for 3 days now, and it won't let me rest until I speak it. Revelation 5:1 describes a scroll sealed with 7 seals that contains the purposes of God. Most people think that scroll is just about the end times, but scholars have discovered something profound. There are personal scrolls too. Individual books of destiny that God writes over each life he creates. Psalm 139:16 confirms this. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Your book, chosen one. Your story. Your destiny. And somewhere along the way, you believed your book was finished, that your final chapters had already been written, that your story was supposed to end right where you are sitting in the same chair, walking the same halls, living the same diminished version of the life you once dreamed about. But God just reopened your book. During those 2 hours, heaven's scribes were summoned. The Ancient of Days leaned over the manuscript of your life. And with his own hand, the same hand that flung stars into space, he began writing new chapters. Pages you thought would remain blank are now filling with divine ink. Destinies you thought had expired are being renewed. Purposes you thought you'd missed are being reactivated. Your story was not supposed to end where you thought it would. The enemy convinced you that your best years were behind you, that your season of significance was over, that you should just settle in, fade quietly, and wait for heaven. But God is saying tonight, through this message, through this moment, through this supernatural corridor that's still open over your life, he's saying, I'm not done. Your story isn't finished. The best wine has been saved for last. Moses was 80 when his real mission began. Caleb was 85 when he conquered his greatest mountain. Anna, the prophetess, was 84 when she held the Messiah in her arms and became one of the first evangelists of the gospel. Your age isn't your limitation, it's your activation point. If you feel that shift right now, if something in your chest is trembling, if your spirit is confirming what your mind can't yet comprehend, whisper these words out loud. Turn the page, Lord. Say it until you feel it. Say it until faith rises above doubt. Say it until the corridor between heaven and earth becomes so real you can almost see it. Because what God wrote into your future during those 2 hours is about to manifest in your present. But you need to know what he wrote. You need to understand what changed. You need to see the specific words he inscribed over your remaining days. Stay with me. Don't look away now. Because the next part reveals exactly what God wrote into your future, and it's going to shatter every limitation you've accepted as permanent. He waited, he watched, he warned. But this moment, he couldn't wait anymore. You see, chosen one, God has been patient with you, patient through your doubts, patient through your detours, patient through every season when you told him maybe next year, Lord, or I'm not ready yet. He's been standing at the edge of eternity, watching you circle the same mountain, fight the same battles, cry the same tears. But tonight, something shifted in the heavens. The Father stood up from his throne. And when God stands up, beloved, it's because patience has given way to urgency. It's because the timeline just accelerated. It's because what he's been holding back can't be held back any longer. Let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. How many dreams have you buried because you thought you ran out of time? How many prayers did you stop praying because the answer took too long? How many times have you looked in the mirror and whispered, I guess that wasn't meant for me? I'm talking to the grandmother who gave up on seeing her prodigal son come home. I'm talking to the grandfather who stopped believing his health could be restored. I'm talking to every senior saint who's been told by doctors, by family, by their own exhausted heart that some things are just over. But here's what heaven just declared over your life. Not yet. Think about Abraham. 75 years old when God called him to leave everything. He waited 25 years for Isaac. 25 years. Can you imagine checking your mailbox every day for a quarter century, waiting for a promise that looks more impossible with each birthday? His body was as good as dead, Romans 4:19 tells us. Sarah's womb was barren. Logic said it's over. But God said, I'm just getting started. Moses was 80 when the burning bush interrupted his normal day. 80 years old. He'd spent 40 years thinking he was somebody in Pharaoh's palace, then 40 years thinking he was nobody in the wilderness. And right when the world would have given him a gold watch and sent him to a retirement home, God handed him a staff and said, now you're ready to deliver a nation. But here's what breaks my heart. Here's what makes the Father's heart ache. Some of you have accepted the world's verdict over your life. You've believed the lie that your season has passed, that your best days are photographs in a drawer, that the dreams you carried were beautiful once, but now they're just expired. And that's exactly when God had to interrupt everything. Picture this. You're about to walk into oncoming traffic. You can't see it coming because your eyes are fixed on the ground, on your limitations, on your age, on your bank account. But your Father sees what you don't see. He sees the 18-wheeler of hopelessness barreling toward your spirit. He sees the enemy's final play to convince you to give up 3 feet from gold. So what does he do? He grabs your shoulders. He spins you around. He looks you dead in the eye and says, stop. Listen. You're about to step into a season you once feared you'd never live to see. That's not motivational speaking, beloved. That's prophetic declaration. Anna the prophetess was 84 years old when she saw baby Jesus in the temple. 84. She'd been widowed after only 7 years of marriage. She'd spent decades in prayer and fasting, serving in the temple day and night. People probably walked past her every day and thought, poor old Anna, still here, still praying, still waiting. But Luke 2:38 says that when Jesus arrived, she gave thanks to God and spoke about the child to all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem. She didn't just witness the Messiah, she became the first evangelist to proclaim him. Her greatest assignment came in her 80s. Your age isn't your disqualification, it's your anointing. But here's the urgency heaven wants you to feel right now. This interruption wasn't optional. God didn't pause everything just to give you a nice pep talk. He stopped the machinery of eternity because you're standing at a crossroads. And the direction you choose in the next few weeks will determine whether you die with regret or you die with legacy. Esther 4:14 asks the question that's burning over your life right now. Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Your royal position isn't a throne, dear one. It's your age, your experience, your scars, your survival. You've been prepared for such a time as this. The message he couldn't wait to deliver is simple but seismic. The finish line you thought you'd never reach, you're about to cross it. The promise you thought died, it's about to resurrect. The calling you thought expired, it's about to activate. If something in your spirit just leaped, if tears are burning behind your eyes, if you feel that ancient knowing rising up, type right now, I'm ready to see it. Because what I'm about to show you next will explain why the enemy fought you so hard, why every door slammed, why every betrayal cut so deep, why the warfare was so intense. He knew what season you were entering, and he was terrified of what you'd become when you finally believed it. You want to know what happened during those 2 hours when heaven stood still? Let me tell you something that's going to shake you to your core. God wasn't just watching you. He was reviewing the war logs. Every attack, every ambush, every calculated strike that hell designed specifically to destroy you before you could step into what he called you to do. Dear one, you thought those struggles were random, didn't you? You thought that depression that hit you out of nowhere at 72 was just old age. You thought that financial collapse right when you were about to retire was bad luck. You thought your children turning their backs on you was just the way families drift apart nowadays. You were wrong. It was warfare. Precise, targeted, calculated. Listen to what Ephesians 6:12 tells us. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. That wasn't poetic language, chosen one. That was a war bulletin. You've been in a fight you couldn't see with an enemy you couldn't name. Let me walk you through what heaven uncovered during those 2 hours. First came the emotional attacks. That grief that wouldn't let go after your spouse died, grief so heavy it felt like drowning in the dark. That wasn't just mourning, beloved. That was a demonic assignment designed to convince you that your purpose died with them. The enemy whispered, "Your best years are buried in that grave. You might as well give up now." But you didn't give up, did you? Something inside you, something you couldn't explain, kept you breathing, kept you praying, kept you believing, even when belief felt like swallowing broken glass. That was God, holding the pen while darkness tried to write your ending. Then came the health scares. Oh, the health scares. That diagnosis that made the doctor's face go pale, those test results that didn't make sense. That pain in your chest at 3 a.m. that made you wonder if this was finally it. You thought your body was betraying you. But what if I told you those weren't just medical issues? What if those were spiritual attacks aimed at your physical temple because the enemy knew what you were about to birth in the spirit realm? Job 2-6 records God telling Satan, "Behold, he is in your hand, but spare his life." Even in attack, chosen one, you were protected. The enemy could touch your body, but he couldn't touch your breath. He could assault your health, but he couldn't silence your heartbeat. Because God drew a line and said, "This far and no further." And you're still here, still breathing, still standing. Then the financial hardship hit like a tidal wave, didn't it? Right when you thought you were secure, everything crumbled. The investments vanished. The pension wasn't enough. The bills piled up like tombstones. You found yourself at 75 years old counting pennies, wondering how you'd make it through another month. The shame burned hotter than the fear. You'd worked your whole life, and here you were, broke and broken. But Philippians 4:19 declares, "My God shall supply all your need according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus." Notice it doesn't say according to your bank account. It says according to his riches. The attack on your finances was designed to make you doubt God's provision, to make you believe you were abandoned, to crush your faith under the weight of zeros in your account. It failed, because somehow, impossibly, you made it through. Groceries appeared, bills got paid, you survived what should have destroyed you. And then came the deepest cut of all family betrayal. Your own children stopped calling, your grandchildren forgot your birthday. The people you sacrificed everything for treated you like a burden, like yesterday's news, like you were already dead and just hadn't been buried yet. That pain cut deeper than any disease, deeper than any debt. Because blood is supposed to protect blood. But Psalm 27:10 promises, "When my father and my mother forsake me, then the Lord will take me up." When human love failed, divine love doubled down. When earthly family walked away, your heavenly Father moved closer. The attack that should have isolated you actually positioned you for an intimacy with God that comfortable people never experience. Here's what God showed me during those 2 hours, chosen one. Every attack had a pattern. Every assault had a purpose. The enemy wasn't just trying to hurt you. He was trying to prevent something. He saw what was coming in your future, and it terrified him. So he threw everything he had at you: grief, sickness, poverty, betrayal, hoping one of them would finally make you quit. But you're still watching this message. You're still listening. You're still here. The attack failed because your purpose is tied to someone God refuses to give up on. That someone is you. Darkness tried to write your ending, but God held the pen. And while hell was busy attacking, heaven was busy recording. Every tear you cried became evidence. Every night you survived became testimony. Every moment you chose faith over fear became a weapon that's about to be placed back in your hands. If you survived something you can't explain, if you're still standing when you should be shattered, comment right now. That was God. Let that declaration rise from your spirit. Because what you're about to discover next will show you exactly what God is preparing to restore. Everything the enemy stole, everything you thought was lost forever, everything you gave up hope of ever seeing again, don't you dare leave now, because what God revealed in the final hour of that divine interruption will change everything you thought you knew about your future. You know what breaks my heart? It's watching God's chosen ones walk through their golden years, carrying losses they were never meant to bear. Losses that whisper lies every single morning when you open your eyes. Your best days are gone. Your strength is finished. Your purpose died somewhere between retirement and now. But what if I told you that in those 2 hours when heaven stood still, God wasn't just watching you, He was writing a decree with your name on it? Listen to me carefully, beloved. This isn't about feeling better for 5 minutes. This is about a divine reversal that's already in motion. While you've been sitting in that chair wondering if anything will ever change, heaven's been